All right, welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak on this 24th day of October 2022. I want us now to focus on the reason why the Senate exists. Well, among many other reasons, it's also to protect the interests of the counties. And recently, the Supreme Court gave a judgment that the Senate, indeed, because of its responsibility, can summon the county governors to offer information, whether it's on financial matters or other related affairs, to ensure that they're able to check on their ability to implement what they're supposed to be implementing, but also said that they should not purport to be supervising the county assemblies. Well, last week there has been some events that have been taking place, including in Meru County, where we saw some members of the county assembly walking out on Governor Kawira Mwangaza, elected on an independent ticket. She has no single MCA affiliated to her, of course, because of her independence. She was not able to address the House. It became a bit chaotic, but then again went ahead to address a press conference, just like the leaders of the House and the Speaker, each of them accusing each other. Just listen. All right, so those are the Senate, members of the County Assembly of Meru County, and they were singing, is it at the governor of Meru, telling her bye-bye, because that's a song that the spouse of Governor Kawira Mwangaza sang to the immediate former governor. When you look at this situation, Senator Ledama, let me begin with you, because this is your second term in the Senate. You've seen such kind of engagements, but they haven't come so early. Governor Kawira just finished her second month on the 18th, which is last week. What does this tell you about that?
I think not only about Meru County, but it's about all the new county governors. One of the things which is very, very important, and I love this subject because this is my daily bread, is that governors ought to remember that they do not own members of parliament. They do not own county assembly members. In fact, recently I was in Narok, and my governor, I was actually in Kilgoris during the Mashujaa Day, and my governor said, my county assembly members, my MCAs, he said, my MPs, I'm moving around with them. He said, I'm forming something called a committee to be able to set up something called a Ward Development Fund. I think the moment that these governors take their time and seek proper legal brains to be able to advise them on their role is the day that they will realize that they are just people who are put there to be able to deliver on the mandate of the people. And why am I saying that? Number one, if you look at Article 179 of the Constitution, it talks about the executive authority, of a county being exercised and vested in by executive committee. And that executive committee is the governor, the deputy governor, and 10 CCs, not MCAs, 10 CCs. So really, a governor ought to come with his or her budget and present it to the members of the National Assembly. So when governors are moving around, when they're moving around the entire county, seeking, opinion from the people, they should not be moving there saying, oh, this is my MP, this is my MCA. No, that's not your MCA. That person is there to be able to ensure that they check you. So the other day I told the governor in Narok that your job is to go around, seek opinion from the people on what they want implemented. And then that MCA should be there so that what his or her people in that ward want, they can ensure that when the budget is brought, when the governor has prepared the budget, if, let's say, for instance, I come from Eldermat Ward. If in Eldermat Ward we don't have ECD classes, we ensure that the people there say we need ECD classes. If we do not have a hospital, we need to say we need a hospital. So the MCA from Ildamat Ward must ensure that before he agrees to pass the budget, whatever the wishes of his people are delivered. So really the key most important thing is for the governors to realize that they cannot control the MCAs. And let me tell you what will happen to the governor of Meru. She will be impeached. And that is the day she'll realize that the most powerful people are MCAs. MCAs will impeach her. It will come to the Senate. And our job is not to overturn the MCA's decision. You know, our job is really to either to confirm, just to check whether everything was done within the law. But ultimately, if you do not listen to your MCAs, if you think you can be able to micromanage them, you've got a long, 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 long way to go so that you learn everything about devolution.
Let's listen to what the MCAs and the governor said in regards to this topic.
Tuko na habari ya kwamba wanatumika vibaya kisiasa na senior politicians ambao sitataja kwa majina wanajijua. Hawa mawaziri ni wa kaunti ya Meru na watafanyia Meru kazi. Kwa hivyo kama ilikuwa ni mazoea ama ni mazoea sijui, kwangu I'm not ready to part with any amount of money for you to do what you are supposed to do. I will not. Maana hiyo ni kazi yenu na mnapaswa muifanye.
Kama gavana mimi hajachukua simu yangu, hajachukua ya majority, hajakuwa ya minority, ya deputy speaker, na niyo mwingine mwenye waliongea na yeye ndiye amuitishe pesa. Tuongee ukweli. Mimi hachukui simu zangu.
Kutoka hapo, hajawahi shika simu ya majority leader, hajawahi jibu ujumbe hata mmoja wa majority leader. Kwa hivyo, nasikia akisema ni bishop, lakini ni bishop ambaye ana makosa sababu anaongea uongo.
All right, so those are the accusations, but the most important thing is that Governor Kawira was not able to address that house, and the reasons have been, they have been explaining what the reasons are. The governor says that they are demanding money for them to pass the CECs. The MCAs are saying, no, that's not true, but also there's one of the MCAs who was saying that indeed they used to get resources to finance their ward development activities, and they need the governor's cooperation. Senator Nyoto, when you listen to this conversation going on, and I know there's still so much that we don't know about the situation in Meru, but for you, what is the solution out of this? Because Senator Ledama is already warning that there is a likelihood that the governor will be impeached, but the Kenyans in Meru did not go to the ballot so that they can have such kind of altercation on TV. Yeah. They wanted services.
Yeah. Thank you, Gituko. And listening to what those MCAs are saying, and even looking at the relationship that has started between the governor and MCAs. I don't want to say her MCAs because Senator Ledama says they should not be called anybody's MCAs. I think the leaders at whatever level must relate well with the other elected leaders, even if they are maybe at a lower level. And I think that is a major problem that, for me, that is in Meru, that the governor does not, or is not seeking to have a working relationship with the MCAs. And then, you know, Gituko, when you're in politics and you are like, you want to engage or to employ, relatives, it's always a problem because people are like, we did not vote in this particular leader so that we could benefit the family. We voted for this leader so that they could serve the people that elected them. And if you look, and why I want to insist and emphasize on the relationship between maybe the governor and the MCAs, or between any leader and those at a lower level. In fact, if you allow me, I think that is where, for example, the retired president, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, lost it in Mount Kenya. When the relationship between him and elected leaders there started, going bad. And so because these are the people that are with people all the time there. And so even if Uhuru Kenyatta, for example, was doing roads and maybe some good things that were happening, but there were no people on the ground. The elected leaders were not there to tell the people, to sensitize the people, and maybe tell them what the president was doing. And so I think I want to emphasize that looking at the impeachment of Governor Iguru in the last term, I think also I could associate it to the poor relationship that she had with the MCAs then. Because when she mended that, of course...
Senator, in your opinion, what really defines the relationship? I mean, this was the first sitting of the county assembly.
Yes.
And the governor has been in office for just 2 months.
Yes.
There's not even a supplementary budget that she has submitted to the House. So really, what is this that
the relationship is exactly what the MCAs are saying, Gituko, that she does not answer their calls, that she's making some decisions without consulting anybody. The majority leader in a county assembly, also in the Senate or any other house, even the National Assembly, is of course a very important pillar for the executive, because that is the link between them and the county assembly.
But Senator, look, like Senator Ledama here says, the executive power, authority of a county vests with the governor, deputy governor, and their cabinet.
Yes.
Maximum of 10.
Yes.
So what role does the governor have in speaking to the leader of majority in an executive decision?
We are talking, Gituko, about that relationship. You need it. If she had it, those MCAs would not have walked out on her. You know, although the executive power lies with her and her executive committee of 10 members and the deputy governor, but you see, you need to relate with people, because whatever decision you make, anyway, it is about the people of Meru County for this particular case, people who elected the MCAs to be their representatives. I mean, you cannot just say that you want to exercise your executive authority without relating well Gituko with those other leaders, because these shenanigans would not have happened. In any case, when you make these decisions, when you appoint those ECs, you still want them approved by the county assembly.
And you make that communication formally, just like the president has nominated cabinet secretaries and submitted the names to Parliament. The National Assembly.
Yes.
The National Assembly moves based on the law, considers the nominees. I mean, should it be different?
No, formally it's supposed to be that way. But when I talk about a good working relationship, you know, you really cannot define it by law. I mean, what happened to her? Even if she, I mean, I believe she's disturbed. And like Senator Ledama is saying, of course, she could be facing, I don't know what allegations maybe the MCAs will have against her, but she could be facing an impeachment from them because of not relating well with them. I think for me, what I want to underscore is...
That's what I'm struggling with. What
yes.
is that relating well with MCAs? What does it entail?
In politics, you talk to people well. I mean, you show respect to these elected leaders. And there's no problem with, there's no actually problem with consulting them, not exactly about whom you are supposed to appoint, but let them feel, being the representatives of the people in the wards, let them feel that they are involved somehow in your decision.
Let's listen to what more the MCAs and the governor had to say.
Sisi hatukuchagua bwanake ama hakuchaguliwa na Wameru, na tuko na magavanazi wengi akina mama na wako na mabwana, na hakuna mwingine anakuja na bwanake kutisha waheshimiwa hapa.
Sasa kama yeye ni governor, amepatia bwana yake kiti, akapatia ndanda yake kiti mwingine, kazini yake akampatia spokesman wa county. Kwani mimi nikisema bibi yangu apewe kazi, hata mimi nitakuwa nimekosea kweli?
Leo nitafunga kula na kunywa, niombe ili kama kuna mapepo, kulingana na vile wamerusha matusi, kulingana na vile wameturusha mawe, kulingana na vile wameongea vibaya, na watu wa media umechukua hiyo kuongea kwao vibaya, inawezekana kuna mapepo ya aina fulani imerushwa kwao. Kwa hivyo mimi kama bishop ni kuwaombea sana.
Na nitamuomba leo aombe Mungu sana amsamee, sababu anafanya makosa. Naelezwa ya kwamba hata amesema ya kwamba mimi ndio nimegonga gari lake na mawe. Kama ana ushahidi wa kutosha, mimi niko tayari tupelekane na yeye kotini, sababu ni hatia kuvunja gari la mtu yeyote ama kuharibu mali ya mtu yeyote.
Okay, very interesting. Speaking last there is Evans Mawira, who is leader of majority of the Meru County Assembly. Ayub Bundi is the Speaker of the Assembly, and of course Kawira Mwangaza is the governor, the third governor of Meru County. And I didn't know that spirits have a role in running of government. Better language, that would be Mashetani. Senator Manzo, yes, when you watch this, and it's fascinating, the views from Senator Ledama and Senator Nyoto here, but also the MCAs there. What for you do you suspect is the problem here? Because, like I said, one of the MCAs whom we've not cited there was saying that in previous regimes, they used to receive certain funds to develop their wards, and they made promises to their people that they need to achieve. But also, the governor is saying, if you're used to receiving money, I will not be giving you money. And that would sound like it is the right thing to do because every person has their own budget. What is this that we are not seeing that could inform this kind of conflict?
You know, I want to agree with the two senators. You know, the governors must respect other leaders who've been elected. And the work of the county assembly is to check the work of the governor, to oversight the governor. And when audit reports are produced, then Senate kicks in, especially if there are audit queries and the issues which have not been done well. These governments have just been formed. And I think it would have been very fair for the governor to respect the MCAs and the MCAs to respect the governor. That is the expectation of the voter. The voter wants to be served. But you can hear there's a first issue. You know, for any appointments to be made to the county assembly must oversight. For the CECs to be appointed, they must be vetted by the county assembly. And therefore, if other appointments have been made and the government, Meru County government monies are already be paid or will be paid as salaries to people who have been appointed and have not been vetted or have not been approved by the right systems, because you know, there's a county, there's a board, there's a county service board, you know, which vets and makes sure that you have hired people correctly. That will become an issue. Then you have to be careful with the breaching of the Constitution and breaching of the law. The moment as a governor you breach the Constitution and you breach any other law, then you know you can easily be impeached for breaching the Constitution. And the moment that matter comes to Senate, we are not there to clean up governors. We have to check whether the process was properly followed and whether the law was followed. So really, to governors, the law must be followed. I'm sure there is every temptation to hire a relative, to get somebody you are sure of, to get somebody who is your confidant. But also, you must follow the law. Let the county service board do its work. Let the county assembly do its work. And the county assembly member has a right to raise that. If there were monies going to wards, that money belongs to the ward. And that's why there must be public participation between the people, the county assembly, and the governor, so that you carry along the aspiration of all people in that county. But the moment you start serving personal interests, then you are likely to have a problem. If you accuse the MCAs that they have demanded monies from you, how then, if you are not even in communication with them on telephone? I believe the leadership of the House should be in communication with the governor officially. And the consultations really go a long way in getting matters sorted in account. You know, a lot of counties which have been successful, you have a team of the MPs, the senator, the governor, or elected leaders in that county having a different forum to make sure that they carry the aspiration of their people. Because the member of parliament represents people. The senator represents people. The MCA represents people. The governor also represents the people. So the views of the people must carry the day. And if people are not happy with one thing or another, and especially appointments, which means public funds are going to be paid to somebody, then they must be paid for a job done and something which has been approved and has been done within the law. And we would really like to encourage that to happen in the country.
Let me ask you, Senator, I mean, what is need to do? Because every arm of government exists for specific responsibilities. So even if the governor and the speaker, or the governor and the leader of majority or minority are not in speaking terms via phone, what is the neater thing to do? Because the two institutions need to have a certain relationship that is guided by law.
Well, you know, everyone must play their role. And if there are complaints, they must be addressed. If there is something the people are not happy with through their representatives, the MCAs, then it means that particular issue must be addressed. But remember, there are politics playing in Meru. Remember, this governor is an independent governor. So an independent governor means may not have MCAs on our side who are elected independently or associated to her. That's why working with the political parties helps a lot, because when you are one political party, then you have a system of between the governor and his people from the election. So one of the biggest problems she may be having is that she's an independent. And even when you are independent as a governor, your first thing is to embrace the leadership and to set some diplomatic or civilized working relationship. People should not accuse each other. You see, they are giving, they are implying ill motive on each other. If you imply ill motive, you must clear that really before there is a working relationship. So the governor should not imply ill motive on the county assembly members, and the county assembly members should not imply ill motive on their governor. And if there is any issue they are not happy with, if there is communication, because the leader of majority represents what the House is saying, those must meet regularly, even informally, to make sure that they iron out issues which may bring friction between themselves. The moment there is friction, there is an exchange of nasty words. Then how will you sit and serve the people? So the people will suffer. And I saw this in Makueni, in the first term of Makueni between Governor Kivutha Kibwana and the MCAs. It ended up into Senate, ended up into court, and it didn't help the people of Makueni in that first term. There was even the governor then decided to dissolve the government. It went into wastage of a lot of public funds and time for the people. And surely they really didn't work for the people then. So this sort of thing playing out in Meru, has to be sorted out. If it isn't sorted out, it will come to Senate and we'll sort it out for them.
But let me just try to demystify what is actually happening on the ground. What is happening on the ground is that we've got a new governor who has come in. She's got in her mind what she wants to deliver for her people. She doesn't realize that even currently the budget that she's working under is a budget which was Kiraitu Murungi's budget. So the first thing that she ought to do, and I hope she's listening, is to be able to try and seek consensus and try to develop synergy with the legislative arm of government. Because soon she will be submitting supplementary budget. And I think the first thing that she needs to do is to try and have a meeting with this MCS, try to tone down on her dictatorial tendencies. Because, I mean, when you watch her talk there, she seems like she's lecturing the MCS. She needs to realize that the MCS are the most powerful people. They are the most powerful people in a county. Not even the governor. I dare say the MCS. If the MCS want you out, you will be out. So the first thing she ought to do is to be able to say, okay, gentlemen, this is Meru County. This is what I had in mind as to be able to bring in changes into Meru County. The first thing that I want to do is to be able to traverse the entire county of Meru, seek people's opinion, develop a CIDP. A CIDP is a County Integrated Development Plan, which is a 5-year plan. And then from each ward, ensure that issues relating to that ward are part and parcel of her agenda. And then from there, she dissects it and develops something called an annual development plan. Submit a budget to the MCAs and say, this is what I want. And for me to be able to deliver this, under Article 179 of the Constitution, I need these members, to be part of my executive committee. These are the members who represent the entire Meru County. So, but if she brings in her husband, she brings in her sister, that, leaves a lot to be desired. So the first thing I would suggest to, the governor is to really to take a pill chill, to realize that, first of all, she's very vulnerable. You know, she's the only person there. These guys can gang up and remove you. You know, you're very vulnerable. We saw what happened in Makueni, you know, and until Governor Kibwana, Kivuta Kibwana, right?
Yes.
Forget that name, KK. No wonder he went to KK. Light note, you know, the moment he realized that these are very, very powerful people is the moment that he started working well with them. So I think all is not lost. These are teething problems. And the governor needs to realize that unless she's got the support of the MCAs, her budget will not pass. So you can come being very dictatorial, but the buck stops with the MCAs. Talk to them, ask them, what do you want us to do? You know, and then another thing that I have to remind these governors is that there's nothing called Ward Development Fund. When you develop something called a Ward Development Fund, under the PFM Act, you know, if you read PFM Act section, I think 109, which talks about a fund, establishment of a fund. When you talk about, even you go all the way to 112, even the administration of that fund, you cannot now bring in another arm of government and purport to put them there to be the people who will administer on that fund. You know, MCAs exist to be able to develop legislation. Right. We members of parliament, both the Senate and the National Assembly, exist to be able to form legislation. You know, that is why, and I want to repeat this, that is why we have the delegated committee on legislation. So that you can be able to look at government policies that have already been put there, because whenever we develop a legislation or a piece of law, then there are rules and regulations, or they call what? What are they called? Procedures, or what they call? That are developed, you know, by the executive. So for us to be able to counter-check that they are not coming up with another statutory instrument, we form different committees. So currently what is happening in this devolution space is that we've got people who have come who are extremely ambitious. They think that they are the alpha and omega. They think the buck stops with them, and it doesn't. The only thing that gives a governor power is that he is now the owner of that budget. He is now the one to be able to implement that budget. And to tell you...
So, Senator,
yes,
if we are to believe what the governor of Meru is saying, that if they were used to be receiving money, I'm not going to do
You know, it's not about... you cannot impute improper motives on legislators.
It is the governor who is saying that.
Yeah, she is imputing improper motive on those legislators. So what she needs to do is this. She needs to present... I've listened to the argument made by the majority leader. He said that you cannot bring in your husband here. We also have our spouses. We cannot bring them here. You see, and that is something which is very... And I mean, look at what EACC has done. EACC has sent a warning.
Right.
You know, let me tell you what happened. And, you know, the problem with me is that sometimes I really like being very candid. And it doesn't matter whether you're part of my, well, some people see it as a problem. Okay. When I attended the inaugural ceremony of my friend, Abdul Somar Nasir, Nasir stood up and said, my first executive order is this, my first executive order is this. Immediately after I finished addressing, I went and told him, Buddha, you do not have that power. You cannot come in and say, I have the power to be able to waive all the penalties or to waive all the uncollected taxes. You've got to be able to present to the assembly. Once the assembly, and it's actually not even new. It is the CC in charge of finance that brings into the assembly. Once the assembly approves, then you can declare. You can actually now come in and issue an order and say, this is what has been approved. So I think, in a nutshell, is that the governor needs to understand that she cannot be able to undertake any functions in that county unless it has been sanctioned, it has been approved by the MCS. MCS are very powerful.
Okay. All right, I hear you. And you're looking at the interesting scenario in Meru County, which has 69 MCAs, 21 are from the UDA party, 13 of them elected, 8 of them nominated. From the DP party, that is the party of Kiraitu Murungi, the immediate former governor, the elected 13 MCAs and 7 nominees, making 20. And so DP forms the minority party, UDA forms the majority party. Jubilee has a total of 10. DP, the Democratic Party, has 3, PNU 7, NOPEU, total 3, and independent MCAs are 5. So, I mean, she is at a disadvantage. But something else is happening, Senator Nyoto, that is in Homa Bay. And EACC has written to Governor Gladys Wanga in regards to some recruitment that she has made. They say that she may have created more positions than is allowed in law, several advisors to a tune of 11, majority of them, of course, being in the office of the governor, actually 10 of them. And she has explained to say that she got concurrence from the County Public Service Board. What for you would you think is the biggest job you have as senators of the 3rd Senate since 2010 Constitution, but also to the extent that you're not also now having the 3rd regimes, or rather the 3rd county governments since the first one in 2013?
Well, thank you. I think our job as Senate will be to see that, especially that county governments, of course headed by governors, that they do their job, they do their appointments as per the law, and that they expend county resources in the right way. And I think that is now oversight. So we'll be oversighting the use of county resources. We'll be oversighting the procedures, maybe in
the issue of I think 90-day period, you know, which was being canvassed in the BBI. You know, the pending bills issue, which also came into the House legislation. There's really no point, or even us amending the Constitution for us to be able to clear this. This is something that Parliament must be able to pronounce itself. And I think even Article 255 of the Constitution gives us that power, where we can recommend the CS Treasury to stop the funding counties until certain things are clarified. Unless you can stop the remittance to county governments until certain if things are going wrong. So that's issue number one. On the issue of the allowances that you mentioned here, sometimes, because of the nature of the work, it calls for these MCAs to be able to go a little bit over, or county assemblies, or even Parliament to be able to go over its budgeted, or what the ceiling is. Because sometimes it is very difficult for MCAs to be able to do their work in an environment where everybody is there asking for money. Number two, this issue of the wage bill. The issue of the wage, it becomes very difficult for you to be able to meet, discuss issues that you want to resolve in your surrounding, because when you come out, people are out there asking for money. It's very, very challenging. So sometimes they go out of the county to be able to go in and participate in workshops so that they can prepare very well on how they can come back and help their county grow. I wish they would have establishments, or they would have certain areas.
Senator, is that prudence in using public resources?
It is prudence, and I'll qualify this. Let me tell you why I'll qualify.
Just hold on.
This.
The justification for this question. So you spend that kind of money at a time that 61% of the resources you're receiving is going to personnel emoluments.
No, but ask yourself, what makes up the 61%? Remember that this is a young devolution system. There are so many workers who were part of the central government that were seconded to county governments. There are drivers who make up about 150,000 when new recruits are earning about 60, 70,000. And there's nothing you can do until they hit their retirement period. Those are the challenges. Those are the things we are facing. When a governor appeared before the Parliamentary Public Accounts Investment Committee, back then, but now it's called PAC, and they speak, they tell you these are the people that are inherited. These are their terms. These are permanent and pensionable staffs. The only way for me to be able to let them go is, one, if they volunteer to retire, if I have a send of package that I can give them, and I have to budget for that. So really, some of these wage bill being 61% is not the design of that county governor. No, it is a problem that they inherited. So the first thing they have to do is to allow the due process of the law, allow the HR process to go through. Either, one, there's a lot of money which is budgeted for, and maybe this money is considered during the division of revenue bill, and say we need X amount of shillings to be able to send off this percentage of people. You know, this is something which will gradually reduce. That 61% will not continue staying at 61%. You know, let me tell you, there are people who are employed by the county government, but because of the current dispensation, they do not really perform any function. They're just at home, but they're being paid because they were inherited.
Okay.
So really, for this, for devolution to work, and for the Senate to be able to perform its function clearly this time, I think it behooves us as senators to realize that we now have the powers that we did not have. Before, when we went in to ask about on-source revenue, governors would rush to court. Last year, Senator Wamatangi, you know, as the chair of Transport Committee, you know, invited governors to ask them questions about how they spend grants. The governors rushed to court. They got orders, you know, and there's nothing you could be able to do. But now, the Supreme Court has made that declaration, final declaration, that senators have got the power to be able to scrutinize, to be able to oversight on all revenues, on-source revenue, which is where most of the money was being stolen, you know, grants and shareable revenue. So now the mandate is quite broad.
Okay.
So I think during this fourth Senate, you will see a lot of things, a lot of oversight, and governors need to be aware of this. Because even in the Senate, we have divided PIC and PAC.
Right.
PAC will continue looking at the Auditor General report. If you go into Standing Order, I think 193 of the Senate, it will tell you the mandate of PAC. If you go to 194, it will tell you the mandate of PIC, because we've got a lot of companies. Let me finish this because it's very important. We've got a lot of companies that have been formed by county governments. Those companies have never been audited. You know, like if you go to Narok, for instance, there is the water sewage company. If you probably go to Laikipia, there is also an investment company there. Now, this Senate has got the power to be able to oversight on those.
I hear you. Senator Nyoto, because we are practically out of time, but for you, when you listen to this, and there are people who have said that maybe it's time we start telling the counties that when you're spending your money, there are certain caps. Already there's a cap on, or recommended rate of 35% on wage bill, but there are so many other things that there are no caps. Is it time that that became a thought? But also for you, what do you think would be the best thing to really help the Senate achieve its role constitutionally in this term?
Yeah. The ruling by the Supreme Court was actually a milestone because now, as my colleague says, the Senate can oversight all the revenues and actually can summon, issue summons to governors to come and explain maybe any issue of concern to the county and to the Senate. But coming to these pending bills, I think the most rational thing to do would be not to maybe give out a job to a contractor until and unless the county is sure that they have the resources or there is enough, they have enough funds to pay for all the jobs procured. Because has been a concern for everybody, I think it is wrong to give somebody a job without being sure that you'll be able to pay them. And I think as a Senate, we should also look at this issue of pending bills. And I liked what Senator Manzo said, that we also have to look at these pending bills, exactly what jobs were done. Because I know in my county, I listened to my governor of Murang'a on Thursday, and he was saying that upon scrutiny of these pending bills, that most of them, or some of them, were actually, when they went to the ground, they were jobs that had been done by CDF in the various county, in the various constituencies, but somebody had claimed it with the county government. And so I think we also need to do an audit of all those things. And I think that is what the Senate should be looking at. Were these jobs done these pending, attracting these pending bills? Were they actually jobs that were done? I mean, did the county, issue this particular job in a prudent way, prudent in a manner that, like I said, you don't issue a contract to somebody before, unless and until you know that you have enough funds to pay.
Senator, I hear you. You just said your governor, my governor, you might fall into trouble.
Yeah, with the Senator Ledama here.
No, I didn't say, no. I mean, he's a resident of Murang'a.
Yeah.
So that is actually, but what I said, and you must correct this, what I said, listen, I just say that nobody owns the other person.
Okay.
You know, and I want to correct this. I say the governor cannot say, my MPs, my MCAs, I'm traveling with them. Neither can the MCA says, I'm traveling with my governor. Nobody owns either person here.
Okay. Let's take a look at the feedback that has been coming to us via Citizen TV Kenya. Sam Gichuku, the hashtag to use is a daybreak on what Kenyans think about the conversations we've had this morning. Do you have that? Right. Okelo Mwalimu is saying the ongoing restructuring of government agencies is a routine exercise carried out by any new regime. However, Kenyans are more concerned with how the biting hunger can be restructured to food security and how insecurity, especially northern frontier, can be restructured to security. All right, wordplay there. Oringe Waswa, President Ruto is trying every trick in the political book to try and weaken the opposition. This will create a monster called dictatorial rulership. What English is that? That will claw back on all gains we have made democratically. Queen News Pacho, Governor Kawira has broken the world record of nepotism. She has to quickly pull the handbrake and think before accelerating once more. Otherwise, she will find it rough considering that she is a minority without any party support. All right, Godi Baraza, the Senate should take its distinctive role of protecting and advancing devolution in the 47 devolved units. This role should be bolstered by the availability of oversight funding as proposed by President William Ruto. Oh, yeah, Senate fund. Then, who else is writing to us? Amaganga. 90% of counties are experiencing nepotism and tribalism in appointments. We need specific laws to guide appointments. The law is not specific on appointments to the county. Of course, the letter to the two governors from the EACC is quite explicit on what the advisory was from the Transition Authority. Of course, it's a defunct institution. Senator Manzo, allow me not to give you an opportunity to say final remarks because of our time. Senator Leda Molekina, thank you so much. Senator Joe Nyoto from Murang'a County, thank you so much. And Senator Dan Manzo from Makueni County, thank you for making time for us.
And I forgot to make a shout out to a young girl I met yesterday in Eldoret. I can't remember her name, I think Pendo or something. As I said, I'll say hello to her. She a 10-year-old girl came and said, are you the senator from Narok? I said, yes.
Okay.
Said, wow. So, nakusalimu.
All right. He forgot her name.
God, I feel so bad.
Bye for now.
Yeah, I feel so bad I forgot her name.
All right. My name is Sam Gituku. See you tomorrow, same time.